Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all in the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all in the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure?
It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Hey, good morning. And look who we have in the chat. It's Stray. Stray's here. Good to see you, Stray. It's been a while. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're all right. It's really good to see you here this morning. Great to have you. So welcome, everybody. Here we go. So welcome here to my home, to the office, to the morning grind. I was going to take a look at Advanced Hero Quest this morning, but I decided to do something else because I didn't think I was quite ready for that. So I called an audible here this morning because I really want to go in deep in Advanced Hero Quest. There's a couple of different games in that genre that I want to study, and the morning grind's going to be part of that. And I was like, okay, I'm not actually quite ready for that yet. So we're going to be taking a look at the One Ring, the Ruins of the Lost Realm instead here. That's going to be our main topic, and I actually need to go over there and grab the other book because I want to compare this to what I think is the 5th edition book that's the equivalent of this. So let's see. That's what we're doing today. Good morning, Charlie. Good morning. Good morning, Bacon Gaming. Good morning. And Robert is here. Good morning. Charlie's here. And Mike. And Sable here. Good morning. PH is here. All of a sudden, I panicked for a moment. So this is Father's Day, but so in not here in the U.S., right? check your calendars because I was like, oh my God, am I supposed to be doing something for Father's Day? Hey, good morning, Jason. Good morning. So, all right. So what's going on? Well, I've got quite a few things going on, but the main thing I want to tell you about is Tuesday night on Table Talk. Brianna and I are going to be covering the Iliad. So we were going to cover the first season of The Cultist with Doug, but then Doug accidentally had scheduled another podcast. Doug is getting very popular on all these podcasts. So Doug had accidentally scheduled another podcast that was during that time. And I really want both of them, Brianna and Doug, to be there for the discussion of the first season of The Cultists. So without Doug, Brianna and I decided, all right, what kind of topic can we do? And so we decided to do the Iliad. I've been going through the Iliad through audiobook for the last several days, and I will probably end up finishing that today. Taken lots of notes, done lots of watching several videos of like analysis of the Iliad. I've really been enjoying it. I thought it was fantastic. And so I'm really looking forward to that discussion on Tuesday night. So I'm also going to be working on cultist videos today and tomorrow. That's one of the main things I'm going to be doing. It's taken a lot longer to get all of those done than I was expecting. So those can go out on the cultist channel, although some of them will also be coming out on this channel. Some of the ones specifically related to gaming. I've been shooting some YouTube videos and they're not edited yet. But those will come out, including the Kickstarter video. I shot the Kickstarter video. I started editing the Kickstarter video. I'm editing it so that there's a Kickstarter version to actually load to the Kickstarter page. And then also put here as a trailer, a slightly altered version as a trailer here on this channel. So that's what I am going to be working on today and tomorrow, trying to get the cultists still going on. But we're going to take a brief pass by the Iliad. On our way out. So that's kind of what's going on here. We should do a breathe and sip here. Everybody got your favorite beverage this morning? I've got my favorite beverage. So let's breathe and sip. And let's take care of our mental health. Breathe and sip. 2 deep breaths in, complete deep breaths out, and then take a sip of your favorite beverages here. Here we go. Let's breathe. And sip. I told Doug and Brianna by text message when I was going through the Iliad, I said, I'm almost done here. And one thing that I've learned from Kevin go through here is that, I can naturally write more violent stories anyway. And because of going through the Iliad, I was like, you know what? I can actually probably lean into that a bit more. So, Homer makes even biblical violence and Tolkien sound like PG or PG-13 with as compared to Homer's description of what happens to people on the battlefield. So we're going to talk about violence and its representation on the in literature when I talk to Brianna. So we'll be talking about that again. Because Brianna, like I said, when I was reading through her book, we had a brief discussion. I don't think I asked the question very well, but so we're going to follow that up on. Brianna's got a lot of violence and bodily mutilation and things like that, and self-mutilation in her stories. And so, she's not one to shy away from violence either. So I think we'll be talking about that. All right. Let's see. Let's bring up our auxiliary camera this morning. We have the Astral Elder sign this morning as our mat here. So let's see. The One Ring, but this is not quite right. Why isn't my layout changing? There we go. Okay. So I've got the book here, but actually I also want to grab. These were accidental. I guess they were accidental purchases of mine. Sable said, well, actually, PH says the Odyssey was the first book I read by myself. I'm going to go right into the Odyssey after this. I'm going to do, I'm reading for research purposes, even though I've ended up loving it. I'm reading, I need to research a few things for what I'm going to write next. So I'm going to do the Iliad, then the Odyssey, then the Aeneid. I'm going to stop by the Aeneid before going into Exodus. I was told to read Exodus after that. We want to cover biblical storytelling on Table Talk anyway, Genesis and then Exodus. So I might go ahead and dive into Exodus. Although, actually, that's another thing here. So do Exodus and then Gilgamesh. I wanted to do the Epic of Gilgamesh for a while, and then I was talking to James Bacon Gaming here, about Beowulf. So there are actually quite a few ancient stories that would be great to cover there. Also, by the way, just in preparation for biblical analysis, all of these giant giant books that have showed up recently, I got, and you can barely see because this is the Bible that Brianna said that she really wanted to use as a study Bible. So that did arrive at my house, and I've barely been able to open. Can't even open all of these with the microphone. So I haven't really even been able to get into this and see what it's all about. But Brianna said that this was a really good study Bible, so I got her study Bible. And then this one, which I'm expecting to be very different, is this Dake's Annotated Reference Bible, which is a King James edition. So I've got both of those ready for the biblical analysis. Let's see. So PH says Odyssey was the first book I read myself. Then I tried to read James Joyce Ulysses because I thought it was related. I read, let's see, what the particular translation that I was listening to was like a 1920s. It was like Fitzgerald. Was that? Let me get that just in case anyone cares, because I know there are several different translations. And I bought a copy of the Iliad, and then I realized that I wasn't really thinking about what translation at the time. Oh yeah, Robert Fitzgerald. So the audiobook, I paid a bit more attention to, okay, which translation did I want? And I went with the Robert Fitzgerald translation. Don't know, but that's the one that I went with. And of course, we still have Milton's Paradise Lost. I wanted to even study that even further. I've listened to it a couple of times before we study it. So before we go over it on the show. So lots to do. Sable says there's a big difference. Yeah. Sable. Thank you, Sable. Sable, a member for 14 months, says there's a big difference between violence done gratuitously and violence done for a purpose. Also, it always hits differently in text versus visually. And I want to talk to Brianna about that too. How Homer describes violence and how that would be different if displayed on film, either on TV show or in a movie or something like that. Yeah, I think that's an important topic. Oh, James says, then James is extra perfect for talking about Beowulf with. Beowulf is my favorite ancient piece of literature. I own it in 4 languages. Used to be able to read it in all 4 too. Hey, quick AI update. Robert says, adding and removing characters from party and equipment and modifiers intact functional. Goal is to set monsters with a chance of hostility to block, adding to party or taking items. Well, I'm interested to see this when the new version comes out. Sable says, just watch The Northman. I did go to the theater to watch that. I've only seen it once, but I did go out to the theater to see it because that was, at the time, seemed like a rare good movie, and couldn't help associating it with The 13th Warrior, which I have seen, but man, it's been a long time since I've seen The 13th Warrior. Couldn't help associating it with The 13th Warrior in my head, even though they're nothing alike. They're movies that have violence front and center, but for a purpose. So Charlie got Ruins of Eriador. So do we have these? Because some of these we did look at. So Charlie got Ruins of Eriador with the Moria Kickstarter. That's how I got this one too. So I had gotten these earlier. Was that on another Kickstarter or something like that? So this is Ruins of Eriador. And then this is Tales from Eriador. Okay. So I got those two books earlier, Tales from Eriador, and these do both have the one the 5e symbol on top, and they're the smooth well, it's slightly glossy, semi-gloss kind of covers here. But I had bought the wrong thing. I don't think they were review copies. They could have been. Good morning, Tomocrat. I don't think they were review copies, but either way, they were the 5e version, and so this is the One Ring version. We were talking about that it's being a little bit confusing. We thought that they will have books. You know, they're doing this with both systems, which is great. I mean, which is fantastic. Okay, we've talked about multiple system games before as well. So they're releasing under the 5e rule set, and they're releasing under the One Ring, but I'm guessing that Ruins of Eriador need more space. I'm guessing that Ruins of Eriador and the Ruins of the Lost Realm are equivalent books. I think they decided they didn't want to like have the same title in both systems under the same name. I think they thought that would confuse people, but I actually think that it's more confusing when you've got what I think is basically the same material, and I want to compare these and see if that's true, published under two different titles. Because I just see another, and because sometimes I think in the beginning I'd even forgotten they were publishing under two different systems. I was like, oh, a new title. I don't have that one. So let's see. Okay, so this is the One Ring version. This is the matte linen texture for the book, which is really nice. In the western lands of Eriador, between the Misty Mountains and the Mountains of Lune, the hobbits found both men and elves. Indeed, a remnant still dwelt there of the Dunedain, the kings of men that came over the sea out of Westernesse. They were dwindling fast, and the lands of their north kingdom were falling far and wide into waste. Eriador, the lone lands described in Lord of the Rings, comes alive as never before in this supplement for the One Ring, the official tabletop role-playing game based on the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. A region often described as deserted becomes a crucible for adventure, offering many hours of gameplay. Chapter 1. Chapter 1. Fog over Eriador. All right. I remember that scene, PH, in 13th Warrior, but I probably only seen that once years and years ago, soon after it came out. So, Chapter 1, Fog over Eriador, offers the description of the regions that once were part of the Kingdom of Arnor with a focus on the city of Tharbad. Chapter 2, A Gathering Storm, provides the lore master with a set of narrative elements aimed at building a possible future for the land of Eriador as a whole, including the descriptions of many looming threats, lore master characters, and their agendas. Chapter 3, Landmarks, add 12 sites of interest in the style of the ones presented in the core volume. These locations depict both historical sites mentioned in The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, and others that have been created specifically for this game. Oh, yeah, the Hunt for Red October translation scene. Good morning, Nathaniel. Good morning. Okay, yeah, I think we've seen this map of Tharbad before, which is pretty cool. I say how much I love the layout every time. Okay, so this is just 3 chapters. So, yes, okay, this is 3 chapters. Fog over Eriador, Gathering Storm, and Landmarks. So I wanted to compare. Let's see, is that what this is? Oh, this is a very similar description on the back here. It doesn't have as much information like what's on the chapters, but this one does begin the same way in the western lands of Eriador between the Misty Mountains and the Mountains of Lune. So this must be it. Yes. Okay. So these two are the equivalent books. And looking at that, yep, Fog over Eriador. It looks like the same chapter layout. fog over Eriador, a gathering storm, and then landmarks. There's an appendix over here, though. Optional counsels and skill endeavors, borrowing items of superior worth, subtle magic, and the Eye of Mordor, which I don't see over here. Actually, borrowing items of superior worth. I kind of want to know what that's about. Oh, look, we got... I think we looked at this saying that this is the same travel map. Having the travel map is important here for our travel rules, which we have looked at in the morning grind before. But I think these must be our new... The white numbers must be our new locations. We do have a fold-out map here. Okay, so it's the map of Tharbad. I don't have enough room to spread it all out. But okay, so we do have a map of Tharbad here in the back. Borrowing items of superior worth, 118. At first, I thought this guy had a crazy... Let me see if I can get this to focus a little bit better. At first, when I flipped over here, I thought this guy had a crazy mustache. He kind of looks like it, doesn't he? But I think that's part of a helmet piece. Zorro, Black Numenorian Warlord. It says, appendix, the authorities, if true, differ whether the last question was a mere question and not a riddle according to the strict rules of the game. The present section offers a number of optional game mechanics for lore masters and their groups of players to adopt for their games or to ignore at their discretion. Optionals, counsels, and skill endeavors. We came to the conclusion we were going to have to be better at the rules of the One Ring. Like, really, in order to do, like, the solo gaming. Any gaming, but including the solo gaming. So, time limit for counsels. As seen on page 106 the One Ring, during the introduction stage, the spokesperson of the company makes a skill roll to determine the number of attempts that a player heroes are granted to present their case. Using these optional rules, a time limit is determined as follows. If the introduction skill roll is a failure, the time limit is equal to 3. If the roll of a success, the time limit is up to 4, plus 1 for each success icon rolled. Okay. Limit on skill. Oh, here is borrowing items of superior worth. Yeah, Free League's production value is really good. Yeah, I think I said, I say that just about every time that, like, okay, these books. Free League is, like, probably my favorite RPG publisher right now. And I'm so glad that they have the Lord of the Rings. I don't think we've ever gotten... Well, no. Okay, Cubicle 7. So Cubicle 7 had it. But I wasn't... I did look at their 5e version, which was better. I mean, this is very much a continuation of this, right? I thought their 5e version was a lot better than I was expecting. Like, when somebody said they were going to do a 5e version of Lord of the Rings, from the rule standpoint, my first thought was, okay, well, you're not really going to be able to do that. But surprisingly, it was good. It was surprisingly good in general to me. See, to me, Charlie, I would say this is better than MERP. I mean, MERP was comprehensive. But as far as style of play, I would say this is superior. I mean, I got MERP stuff over there. I used to have a lot more MERP stuff, and that got those went in the Great Purge. But okay, yes, MERP was very comprehensive, but I think that this is superior as far as its rule set and then also the production value of the books. Of course, that's not really fair to compare, because maybe neither of them are fair to compare because they are so separated in time. But it says, but if I were going to go and play Lord of the Rings, it would probably be this one. The box on page 79 of the One Ring and the one about fate and predestination on page 171 explains why extraordinary items improved with one or more rewards or blessings are meant to be strictly individual and cannot be handed over for others to use, not even in the case of character death. But in the books, Sam Gamgee carries Sting for a while and even wears the One Ring. To reflect such an uncommon occurrence, this prohibition can be waived in the case of characters bonded by a particularly strong friendship. If the group agrees, a player hero can spend 1 point of fellowship to borrow an item belonging to their fellowship focus, be it a useful item or piece of war gear enchanted by one or more rewards or blessings. So these sound like just clarifications and clarifications of rules, which is probably why this appendix is not in the 5e rule book, because I guess they are not applicable. Tomocrat says, hey, Brett, good morning. Good morning. Let's see. Tomocrat says, Free League, Chaosium, and Chaosium are my favorite publishers of books. RPG Exile says Free League is amazing. I know Free League has taken on such a mantle of role playing. It's pretty incredible. Hey, James, what were the 4 languages that you could read Beowulf in? So the subtle magic and Eye of Mordor. When the effect of a magical success considered to be a blatant display of magical power, as the rules for the Eye of Mordor are concerned. When is the effect of a magical success considered to be a blatant display of magical power, as for the rules of the Eye of Mordor are concerned? I kind of would, maybe I should do like in order to learn the One Ring, I should probably do one of these how to play the One Ring in 5 minutes videos, like sometimes I do, to help get people into it. But it sure would be nice to have somebody to play with who knew it to kind of introduce it. Sable says Free League is pretty great. Not only are their own IP, so to speak, highly regarded in their presentation, but they really know how to do someone else's IP too. Yeah, they take real care with doing with somebody else's IP, which is why Lord of the Rings here is so good. The Alien RPG is fantastic. Oh, RPG Exile says, I'm about to launch a Symbaroum. I think that's how you pronounce it. The Symbari. I used to say Symbarium, but I don't think that's the pronunciation. Symbaroum and Alien campaigns. So excited. I was also originally going to. I was thinking about going and trying to shoot some more dinner and a board game openings, and I was talking to Megan about that, and we were going to do that tomorrow, but I misunderstood when the winery was going to be available, so nobody was going to be at the winery tomorrow in order to allow us to do that. So, not going to be doing that tomorrow, but I hope soon, because we need it. We need it. Okay, so when is the effect of a magical success considered to be a blatant display of magical power, as in the rules of the when the Eye of Mordor are concerned? The lore master must adjudicate this on a case-by-case basis, as the rules for magical successes are very flexible. You can cover things as subtle as blowing up animal-shaped smoke rings with a pipe to suddenly disappearing from sight. In general terms, as magical success achieved using a cultural blessing or virtue should not be considered a blatant magical display, while one obtained using a marvelous artifact or wondrous item must be evaluated as a potential cause for an increase in eye awareness, using the guidelines presented in 171, the One Ring. Okay, so I don't really understand that. So additional rules clarifications within the One Ring system. I see, that's another one that I think I got the wrong thing. Yeah, because that has its own system, right? Because we barely got to look at some of Symbaroum here on the Morning Grind. And maybe we should look at more of it. So, but look, I didn't, this is another one. So they published both of these under different systems as well, right? Okay, so they published this under different systems. So, Ruins of Symbaroum is also published as 5e. So I guess that's kind of analogous here to the One Ring. I didn't think about that. So what I got here is 5e, but now it's like, no, if I were going to play it, like it has its own system, right? So that's the player's guide. I mean, I guess most of the lore is the same, kind of the same way. Like, what is this world? What are we doing? The ruins of Simbarum Bestiary. And then ruins of Simbarum. What is this? Oh, the Game Master's Guide. So I've got these to like understand, I guess, the world. But that's not its own system, right? So Sable says, yes, Free League's own creations are built off the mutant year zero system universally. Then they adapt them to other systems, mostly 5e. So, yeah, PH says, yeah, I like its own system, but we played just a few times. Okay, so James Bacon says, I used to be able to read Beowulf in Old English, Modern English, German, and Swedish. Whoa. That's amazing. Okay, well, let's flip through this for a few minutes. Because like I said, I think that it looks, Len, that we've covered a lot of this, like what the general material is, but with different rules because we've been through the other one. Well, okay, here's what it is. So what is this? This says, what you hold in your hand is a guide to the peoples inhabiting the lone lands of southern Eriador, the place they dwell in the hopes that they hold for the future in the twilight of the Third Age. It is intended primarily for the lore master, okay, who can find among these pages the inspiration they require to bring Middle-earth to life as the player heroes explore it. Players should refrain from reading this. Oh, okay, so players should refrain from reading this with the exception of those parts detailing areas their character might reasonably be knowledgeable about. The material presented in the ruins of the Lost Realm assume the date is the same as in the One Ring, which is the year 2965. Okay, it says making Southern Eriador a living, breathing setting for a role-playing game required a loose interpretation of those parts of the stories that dealt with this region. For example, in the Tale of Years presented in Appendix B of The Lord of the Rings, the entry for the year 2912 states that Tharbad was ruined and deserted as a consequence of great floods that struck the area. In the present volume, we've chosen to read that as Tharbad being mostly abandoned, but the town limps on under the unlawful rule of bandits for another 2 generations. The land is still lonely and underpopulated, but role-playing games need people to talk to, so whenever possible, we've added characters. If you choose to interpret Tolkien's words differently, then Tharbad and Londar might both be desolate and empty by the year 2965. I was saying that of course, we're talking about Beowulf over here in the chat, and of course, in this. Of course, doing the morning grind has certainly gotten me to look at a whole bunch of games that otherwise would have just sat on my shelf. Like I probably would not have. I would not have sat down and studied these different games and studied these games or really got to know them without having done this live with all of you online. And likewise with Table Talk, of course, we covered a lot of movies and stories that I had already gone through, but also like there was a stack of reading material, and there's still a stack of reading material and books and movies that we have not done, had not read, and I only really did them because they were like, hey, we need to do these for the Table Talk, and eventually we put a deadline on it and they get done. So, that alone has been an advantage of Morning Grind and Table Talk. Well, and that was its purpose too. Mike says, watching the Morning Grind has introduced me to many games that I would not otherwise have. And that was absolutely my purpose. We're talking about, of course, we cover take a look at a lot of, like, do you call this an independent game? Like, I actually might not. But this is, publishers other than Wizards of the Coast and, Paizo. I was trying to think of who publishes Pathfinder all of a sudden. Those games, because there is so much out there. And so, yeah, maybe, I don't know, people watch this on replay on 1.5 speed or 2 speed or something like that to just get to know something else that's out there. Maybe they want to pick it up for their table. So, okay, so the first chapter, we do have the city of Tharbad, Old lore. There has been a settlement at the crossing of the Gray Flood since men came to this part of the world. But time grinds hard stone into metal, slays kings, and ruins towns. And Tharbad of today is different from that of old. I still love the illustrations here. Yeah, the layout is amazing, RPG Exile says. So this is Tharbad, the middle island. What's going on with that middle island? That island that we saw in the middle of the river? The middle island was once just a spike of stone in the middle of the river. When the great bridge was built, the solid rock in the nameless isle anchored the central pillar. Earth and soil and stone was dumped into the little island, and pilings made of alder and latch wood were planted deeply along its shore to consolidate and expand them. In recent years, the island has become much more important to the town. Gurnow's men enlarged it even further, replacing the soil and pilings torn away by the flood in 2912. Tharbad's forges and smithies were relocated there on the grounds of fire safety. Later on, other important trades were moved there, crowding the little island with the town's crafters and tradesmen, their workshop all piled on each other like chambers on the anthill, each one striving to maintain the level above the waters. Okay. Well, Tharbad as a safe haven. Tharbad is certainly not as welcoming or warm a place as Rivendell the Shire. It's a rotting town of thieves and brigands ruled by a former warlord. However, in the empty lands of southern Eriador, it's as close to a safe haven as one might find. It's certainly secure enough. The walls of Tharbad might be broken, but it's heavily fortified and easy to defend. It does offer a place to rest as long as the heroes do not break Gunrow's laws or offend his cronies. They may sleep here soundly. Now a safe haven also offers wise counsel and restores hope of courage, like Rivendell or Lorien or Islands of Light in the Darkness, and guard the promise of a better world. Tharbad is an island, but there's little light here, and Gunrow is certainly not an elf lord or good king. He's not wholly evil, but he's corrupt and venal, and makes for a poor patron. If any of the player characters who guide Gunrow toward wisdom, if anything, it may be the player heroes who have to guide Gunrow towards wisdom, or who must overthrow him. No, if there is hope here, it's in the hearts of ordinary folk of Tharbad, who endure under Gunrow's ungenerous protection. People like Agna can offer the heroes wise counsel. Amelia Kern or Gwyleth may give the heroes aid or dispatch them on missions. Tharbad only marginally qualifies as a safe haven, but if the heroes spend time here, they can nurture the light that's hidden here. If they do not, it will soon be snuffed out. I wonder how much this book they drew from existing lore and how much they invented for the game. Well, they just said in the beginning that they took some liberties with Tharbad in order to make it a more interesting location for gaming. I think we looked at what is Londar. Is that how you pronounce that? I don't see any like other marks on it to tell me otherwise. So this is a town. Follow the Gray Flood to the sea, and it leads east to the firth and town of Londar. Dying Tharbad clings to its proud history. Reborn Londar is almost wholly ignorant of its more ancient heritage. Thousands of years ago, this place was the new haven of the Sea Kings, the first outpost of the Númenóreans beyond their enchanted isle. It was here the mariners of Númenor built their great ships to voyage north and south, exploring all the shores of Middle-earth that permitted to mortals. Here there were wars fought in ancient days against the wild folk and forces of the enemy. Okay. Decline and resurgence. So what do we say? This first chapter is a description of the regions that were once part of the kingdom of Arnor, with the focus on the city of Tharbad. So when you were asking that question. Oh, was that Mike? Oh, it's gone by. What are our 12 landmarks on page 51? It said some of these were made up and some of these are drawn from Tolkien. Oh, Mike's comment was still on the screen. So yes, that was Mike. So chapter 3, landmarks. Long was the way that fate bore them, o'er the stony mountains cold and gray, through the halls of iron and darkening door, and woods of nightshade, more or less. More or less. So, okay, so what are our areas here? The old dwarf mines. Well, it says up here, okay, the 12 landmarks contained in this chapter are described in the structure presented in the appendix of the one, or presented using the same structure provided in the appendix of the One Ring. As discussed here, the chosen format allows the lore master to use each landmark as an open-ended, self-contained scenario free of strict predetermined plot, articulated in orderly scenes. The player heroes learn of the existence of landmarks during the game, for example, by choosing the gathering rumors during the fellowship phase undertaking. The text of each landmark assumes the lore master will adjudicate all actions taken by the company using the core rules for the One Ring. This means that the rules following journeys, combat, and councils are not repeated, nor are those concerning actions, skill endeavors, risk levels, or sources of injury. Whenever the text of a landmark describes a challenge or an obstacle to the company, the lore master should adjudicate circumstances based on the appropriate game rules. So the dwarf mines, I can probably find them. I think we might have actually done this when we looked at the other one. So the old dwarf mines, okay, we're way far north. Look at that. So looking at the old dwarf mines way up there. Rumor, it says there's an old dwarf mine in the Blue Mountains, and there are a lot of dwarf mines in those parts. All the old hills around there are riddled with them, like a wormy apple. The point is, this mine's special. A king of olden times once hid there with all of his jewels and treasures. Now this king was pursued by a fearsome beast out of Angmar, and it is said the only way that he could slay it was by putting his biggest jewel down the throat to choke it. But the rest of the treasure is still there for the taking, if you can find it. Old lore. Arvenduai. Is that how you pronounce that? There's no N. Arvenduai was the last king of Arthedain. In his days, the armies of the Witch King of Angmar destroyed Fornost Irain, and Arvenduai and his followers were forced to flee. They took with him such treasures as they could carry on horseback, for they were sorely pursued by their foes. They took refuge in an abandoned dwarf mine called Scowled Hill, and they hid until hunger drove them forth. It is said that to lighten their load, King Arvindai left lesser treasures behind in the mines, intended to return for them one day, but he perished, and the treasures of Scowl Hill have never been returned. So dwarf treasures and Arthedain treasures. Stray says, I like how they write the flavor text. It feels like the books. Yeah, they've done a great job with that too. So old dwarf mines. Oh, we got a sword here. Malintent's sword. The sword was forged in a numinous by master smiths, and it's an excellent blade. It's a superior grievous keen sword, and wound around. It is a superior grievous keen sword, and wound around with spells that make it a bane to orcs and evil men. However, the wielder of the sword does not if the wielder of the sword does not swear to slay the beast of Angmar, the sword becomes cursed with the curse of weakening, increasing the bearer's heart TN by 2 while the beast yet lives. The White Towers. Yeah, I know. How do you get a job at Free League? How do you get a job writing for Free League? Okay, the White Towers, number 2. Okay, so up here by the dwarf mine, right there. 3 elf towers of immemorial age were still to be seen on the tower hills beyond the western marshes. They shone far off in the moonlight. The tallest was furthest away, standing alone among the green mound. So the rumor, the ancient elf towers rise from the hill beyond the Shire's western marches, their luminous constructions radiating moonlight, visible from distant leagues. The westernmost tower is the tallest still, and it's said that he can see the sea from its top. And it's said that one can see the sea from the top. No hobbit has been known to climb the tower, but elves sometimes visit, disappearing through the White Tower's doors. Old lore. The White Towers are thousands of years old, built by the elven king Gilgalad as a gift for Elendil and the first king of Arnor. Elendil chose the westernmost tower, Elostrian, to house one of the legendary seeing stones he rescued from the fall of Numenor. The Palantir still resides in the tower, one of the few that are not lost to any passing ages, though its visions always track westwards. Elves of Lindon visit the White Tower to glimpse the paradise awaiting them in the Undying Lands. Reasons to visit Elostirian. Simply hearing rumors about the White Towers might not be enough to motivate a company to visit. There are, however, some possible hooks the lore master may use based on the current circumstances of the player heroes and their aims. The elves believe in secrecy, and in this case, they don't possess the strength to maintain a garrison to protect the towers, besides a single custodian, so a company may be asked to protect the White Towers if they believe them to be endangered. A patron may instruct the player heroes to consult the Palantir or to pursue an extensive library of Elostirian for forgotten lore. In these dark times, an increasing number of agents seek the insight into the Elendil stone, and a company may find themselves assisting in the custodian of Elostirian in arbitrating who and is not worthy of accessing the Palantir. One of the MERP adventures, one of the big book, the campaign guide, was about a Palantir. What was that called? Palantir Quest. I always wanted to play that one. I think you'd modify it. You'd modify it to be a bit more Tolkien-like, but going on a search, going on a quest to find one of the Palantir seems like something that is, as charged by, the King of Gondor now, Aragorn, seems like a really good quest idea and campaign idea for a campaign after the fall of Sauron. Mike says the format of each section of the book is really usable for the game. They give some flavor and summarize the hooks effectively. Yeah, it is well done. And I think you're supposed to, rumors or something that might get you there. Old lore, you might know that if you have some kind of lore skill or something like that. That may have been how that was supposed to go. Or a section on mastering the Palantir down here. The Tree of Sorrow. Let's see. So the rumor is there is a sacred tree deep in the woods of Iranvorn, and the tree folk worship it. They take captives in their raids, bring the prisoners back as sacrifices. They find that if you find that any of your kinfolk are missing after a raid, then weep. They're already as good as dead, for no one has ever returned from the dark places of the wood. So old lore. This is one of the most obscure and forgotten spots in all Middle-earth. It's a primordial forest older than the Misty Mountains. Only wild men and wilder trees ever dealt there. Thus, even the wise know little of Erin Vaughn, save that it is a dark and ill-omened name, and the might of Numenor that humbled even Sauron could not pierce the shadows of its trees. Okay, so where is this tree? I know. I think when I saw this, I texted David about this. It's been a while since we've looked at this, but when I saw a Tree of Sorrow, I was like, look, a Tree of Sorrow. So where is the Tree of Sorrow? 3. Oh, way down here. Oh, look. Let me take this down. 3, right there. So that is definitely out of the way. It's right next to 2, though. No, wait, what is 2? No, wait a minute. I'm doing something wrong here. Oh, 2 just means perilous area. Okay, I was confused. These white towers, those white towers aren't up here because there's a 2 over here, but I noticed that was in red. So I was wondering, what does that being in red mean? So that just means a perilous area, and they're numbered. So here is a 1 perilous area, which is the Midgewater Marshes right over here. And here is a 2. Here is a 2, but actually 2 here in white. Here is our White Towers. That makes a bit more sense. I was like, why did they put 2 of these landmarks like right next to each other? So they didn't. So the Shire is here, and then those White Towers are here. The Grey Havens is right here. So that makes sense. You can come to these White Towers on your way to the Grey Havens. It takes a while to get down here to this tree. And that dwarf mine was up here at 1. Okay, so we're in white. White is maybe the red numbers has something to do with do I have a 4 over here? Yeah, Moria gives me a 4 of a threat area, perilous area of a 4 and 3. So that must have something to do with how perilous it is. The Shrouded Islets. That's a 4. Oh, over here by Numinous. The Shrouded Islets. We live now upon an island of many perils. A few months ago, a group of Dunedain was seen taking boats out into Lake Everndim, carrying many supplies. No one has heard from them since. Some say that small islands lie in the middle of the lake, concealed by the mists blanketing its surface for most of the year. Who knows what treasure an expert explorer might find there untouched for centuries. Old lore. The islet of the Lake of Everndim were inhabited by the men of Arnor in the heyday of Anuminus. They built lake houses there, a comfortable retreat from the bustle of the city. Then, from all records, it seems that news from those that settled in the lake stopped reaching Anuminus years before the city was abandoned. See, that's what I think that must be the case. I think that must be the case. Let me see. Mike's asking, are the numbers of peril tied to game mechanics? And it must be like this is the core book. Okay, so the core book has the same areas marked with peril. Perilous areas. Let me see if I can find peril in the index here. Perilous areas, 111. Let's see what they are. Perilous locations. Okay, so our rules on this are as follows. A number of locations of the journey map aren't marked with hexagons. These areas are considered particularly hard and dangerous to cross. These are patches of thick woodland, steep mountain passes, treacherous marshes, and other hazardous terrain types. In game terms, all perilous areas are rated for their dangerousness with a numerical value. Yes, so it is a peril rating. They're peril rating. That's what it says. When a marching roll would lead the company inside or across a perilous area, apply the following. The traveling company stops in the perilous area as soon as they enter it. 2. Before the player heroes can leave the area, they must face a number of events equal to its peril rating. All normal rules apply. Once all events have been resolved, the company continues their journey normally, resuming their marching rolls from the first hex along the journey path outside the boundaries of the perilous area. Supplements for the game may provide additional journey event tables based on specific perilous areas. So there we go. That's not a lot, but I suppose if we had a better understanding of the journey rules, which we have looked at, but I don't remember, we would know. Tyndalin, an elven refuge. The Queen's Hall. Kings of a little kingdom fought together, and the young sun shone like fire on the red metal for their new and greedy swords. I have some notes on Gandalf the Grey here. So this must be lawn. Now the Queen's Hall. Okay. Gandalf the Grey, the Knights of Londar, the Fields of Slaughter. Fields of Slaughter, number 7, right there. Close to Fornost. Angmar's up here, right? Carn Dûm up here. Mount Graham right here. The Fields of Slaughter. Centuries ago, a terrible battle was fought on the plains west of Dead Man's Dyke. They say it was a great victory for the king, but that came at a grievous cost. The battlefield is haunted to this day, as the land itself cannot forget such terrible sorrows. In recent times, a woman has been wandering on the plains alone, as one who has lost her way. Some say it's a spirit, others think she's an elf, a princess maybe. Old lore. Before the city of Fornost Arain fell, the kingdom of Arnor was destroyed. The last king of the north sent messengers south with a desperate plea for assistance. Eonor, prince of Gondor, answered the call, and a great army landed in the Elven Havens. They arrived too late to save Arnor, but they met the Witch King of Angmar on the plains west of Fornost and defeated him. Where is Moria? Right here. Holland is here. So that's Weathertop right there. And then you're coming over to Rivendell here. And so you pass into Moria here. You've got Redhorn Pass and then Moria. Redhorn Pass up here and the West Gate into Moria right here. Dunland here. This has Isengard as its most southern extent. So Isengard is sitting on the lowest hex right here. So you barely see Rohan here. And barely see the tip of Rohan. See a little bit of Isengard. So I guess that's Fangorn Forest here, but this doesn't get into that area. They probably are. Let's see. We'll go for a few more minutes here. See what else is in here. So the Fields of Slaughter. Oh, Weathertop. They do give you Weathertop. Four or 5 days east of Bree, you'll come to a line of hills. The southernmost one, closest to the road, is called Weathertop. It's the tallest of the Weather Hills, and from that summit, a traveler or a bandit might see for miles out across the land and spy on the comings and goings along the road. Rogues and rangers use it to look out as a lookout post, and so did other folk in days of old. You'll see ruins there, tumbled walls and dikes. For back in the days of the king, there was a great watchtower there, it said, where he kept all his jewels. Nothing is there now, of course. No jewels, only ruins. And haunted ones, too, it said. There's nothing up there worth taking. But you'll mark it on the road all the same. A great hill with broken towers, and you'll feel like someone's watching you. If you're lucky, it'll be nothing more than a ghost. Hill of the Sleeper. What is that? Let's find Hill of the Sleeper. Where is that? We know where Weathertop is. That's there. Hill of the Sleeper, and that's number 9. Oh, down here. Deep within the Swanfleet marshes, there was a secret place, a sunken palace, lost mostly to the mud. It's not a house, for no one dwells there, but neither is a tomb, for no one lies there. For the one who lies there is not dead. For in the depths of the cave lies an elf maiden on a stone bier, her long golden hair spilling over the edge like a waterfall of light. She lies there, unmoving and silent, still as a statue, but if you listen closely, you may hear a faint sound of her breathing. Her beauty is breathtaking, this fairest of the fair folk, marred only by the wound on her ankle, where two-fanged punctures and corrupted skin tell where a serpent struck her. Long has she slumbered, encased in imperishable crystal. The people of Swanfleet hold her to be a spirit or a goddess, and believe she watches over them in her dreams. To guard the maiden, they have added to the palace's defenses, permitting dangerous creatures to dwell there. So only the wise women of Metacurit can enter the palace safely. That sounds interesting. Mount Graham. He charted the ranks of the goblins of Mount Graham at the Battle of the Green Fields. To the north, a group of bandits is kidnapping travelers and selling them to the orcs and goblins of Mount Graham. They say they have an agreement with the Dark Fortress's orc chieftain and are compensated with old dwarf gold left behind when the enemy took over the tunnels of Durin's folk of the Misty Mountains. He says the creatures of this nefarious mountain hate the hobbits of the Shire above all else, and they are already planning vengeance against that small folk. Mount Graham. Fort Arliss. Fort Arliss was an old fortress built at the time of the kings that was taken over by savage hillmen many years ago. It has changed hands several times between different warlords, as it is known that anyone who dwells there for any length of time becomes somber and melancholic. The Ranger Haven. Well, here is our refuge, said Faramir. Not a place of great ease, but here you may pass the night in peace. And then we get back to the appendix. So, okay, we didn't go over all of that, but that at least was the 12 locations that are in Chapter 3. So that was pretty nice. Because I think we did go into more detail with just the lore and all those items here. Hey, regular Jeff, you're here kind of here at the end here, but good to have you nonetheless. So yeah, I think we went over like the lore of all this book in greater detail when we were looking at what was inadvertently the 5e version. But that's a quick overview. So they are basically the same. So this book, oh, I got my map over here. So Ruins of the Lost Realm is Ruins of Eriador. Is there a map in the back of Ruins of Eriador? Just for 5e. Yeah. Okay, so those two books are equivalent. All right, well, I am going to go and do work, I suppose. I've got things to do. Got to clean the house, as always. Probably going to go cut grass, going to go walk, but then also going to finish the Iliad. So I'll be ready on Tuesday, take some additional notes, but then also going to be editing video over here, so maybe we can eventually do something. All right, well, I got to get out of here. So thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. It was great having you. I will talk to you later and hope to see you Tuesday night on the Table Talk stream for a discussion of the Iliad. Later.